You need my connection?
I can, if you can make me a phone.
Oh,
You have your phone.
I lost my phone in my phone, my office. I left it in my office. My office is open. Yes. You know what Dr. Kia stopped? Were you here in the class last week? Dr. Kia? No, the class on Monday. Last Monday. Dr. Kia teach the class. Thank you. Okay. Okay, here it is. Assalamu alaikum. You are in. Let me see. Try to be in. Yeah. Actually, the camera already doing this. I think they broadcast it from here.
But this is for like Brother Rizzo and other people should attend, so they can communicate with you.
Okay, inshallah. He says, بسم الله والحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله الرحمة المهداة ونعمة الوزان والاه ونعوذ بالله من شرور الأنفس ومن سيئات الأعمال من يهدي الله فهو المهتد ومن يضلل فلن تجد له وليا مرشدا أما بعد. I think we
start at بيان السبب في حب المدح والثناء.
نعم. Imam al-Ghazali rahimahullah, thank you so much, Jazakallah khair. Imam al-Ghazali rahimahullah, every time he addressed one of those ills of the heart, he always looked at the causes, the impact of this in a person's life, what causes and what impacts this may have on someone. Now he addressing that why people love to be praised and why they love to be acknowledged and why they incline toward that. And why human beings by nature, they don't like criticism, don't like to be confronted with their shortcoming. قد اعلم أن الحب المدح والتلذذ للقلب به أربعة أسباب. Imam al-Ghazali rahimahullah said that you must know that loving praise and being recognized has four reasons. السبب الأول, the first reason, وهو الأقوى, the most strong reason, شعور النفس بالكمال إن بينا أن الكمال محبوب وكل محبوب فإدراكه اللذيذ. A person want to be perfect, perfection. Person want to have this actualization, commit, we call accomplishment in life in general. And he said that is natural, that حب الكمال, a person want to look as perfect as much as they can. And that's what social media does. Social media create false perfection. You put your face, the best picture in your Facebook. Maybe have gray hair, I put a picture that I'm too young and I want to look young. You present yourself in the best way and so forth. Not most of the time. Other people sometimes they find it funny to present the worst of themselves. Therefore, this human nature, love حب الكمال. ومهما شعرت النفس بكمالها وارتاحت واهتزت وتلذذت والمدح يشعر نفس الممدوح بكمالها فإن الوصف الذي به مدح لا يخلو إما أن يكون جليا ظاهرا أو يكون مشكوكا فيه. He said either a person is the quality that people have mentioned about somebody, either it's true in them, you can see it, or it's doubtful. You praise somebody for something that they might not have, or it is something that a person might have. By the way, this is also the two categories. There's madh of sifat, the praise of qualities that a person embodied, or madh of materials, meaning that a person either have virtues, say this person is generous, this person is patient, this person forbearing, this person is wise. What do you say? This person is tall, this person is good muscles, this person have a lot of money. These are two categories of madh. Certain madh or praise, a person have something to do with it themselves, meaning made an effort as human being, and sometimes you don't have any effort on it. Like how many times in the Quran, in Surah Yusuf alayhi salam talks about how he looks. Which verse in the Quran that Yusuf alayhi salam said, I have it? I look so good, huh? Which verse? 0. All quality he talked about Tawheed, he's good for good family, what his parents have taught him in terms of Iman, Tawheed. He talks about his ability to interpret in the dream. He talks about, being trustworthy. He talks about being muhsin, being conscious of Allah. But there's no mention there. Who was talking about his beauty in the Quran? Those women. But himself did not mention it. Today, what all people offer is a look. That's all they offer. You see in the Quran, there's in praise, in madh, there's certain things of quality. And that's why I said to people, if all you offer humanity is your look, you're offering nothing. You don't offer anything. فإن الوصف الذي به مدح ما يكون جليا أو مشكوكا فيه فإن كان جليا ظاهرا محسوسا كانت اللذة به أقل ولكنه لا يخلى من لذات كثنائه عليه بأنه طويل القامة أبيض اللون وإن هذا النوع كمال ولكن النفس تغفل عنه وتخلو عن لذته. He's talking about his time though. He said that people usually, the things that's so obvious about them, they might not get pleasure of people noticing it. He's talking about his time because it's something that you don't have any control over. He said a person will not have that so much excitement about being described, being told by their color, by their height. وإذا استشعرته لم يخلو حدوث الشعور عن حدوث اللذة. He said that a person usually they don't keep noticing that every day, but if they start noticing it, they have then pleasure of that. وإن كان ذلك الوصف بما يتطرق إليه الشك فاللذة فيه أعظم كالثناء عليه بكمال العلم وكمال الورع وبالحسن المطلق. He said, now, then if person being praised or something that people can doubt, is doubtful, it's not something certain, it's not certain. You see a tall person, that's certain. But a person have wara', meaning that fear of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You said this person have taqwa. You said this person have strong iman. This person, quality that it is not measurable. It is not physical. It's not tangible. It's only you assume, there's an assumption being made on them. Those qualities that with the assumption be made, a person will have more pleasure, more enjoyment being called those names or those descriptions or attributes because it's something that other human being cannot claim is doubtful. يعني. فإن الإنسان ربما يكون شاكا في كمال نفسه وفي كمال علمه وكمال ورعه يكون مشتاقا لزوال هذا الشك. He said even a person himself may be doubtful of his manners or doubtful that he has a lot of knowledge or doubt that he has fear of Allah. ويكون مشتاق لزوال هذا الشك. The person looking for something to remove the doubt about themselves. And therefore من يصير مستيقنا لكونه عديم النظر في هذه الأمور يتطمئن نفسه إليه فإذا ذكره غيره أورث ذلك طمأنينة وثقة باستشعار ذلك الكمال فتعظم لذته. Therefore a person then he's not sure about this quality of his and or hers. Then when people mention that about them, they say maybe I am. There's something very important I want to mention here, which is the psychological aspect of this. The psychological aspect of this, there's a difference, you have to differentiate between low self-esteem and humility. And differentiate between arrogance and confidence. There's a very fine line between them. How do you know when you're arrogant or when you're confident? How do you differentiate between those two? What do you think, guys, sisters? What do you feel between confidence, having confidence, and being arrogant? Do you know? Yes. This part of the arrogance, you want praise all the time. If people criticize you, get upset. If they tell you even the truth about something you've done wrong, get upset. That's self-centered. But what is the fine line where people make a mistake about saying, I'm very humble, I don't know anything, I don't know, and then they have start to have low self-esteem. You see, in order to understand this science of purification of the heart, you have to understand human psychology. There's 7 things I want you to notice. 7 things. Number 1, that in raising children, for example, praising them for what they have done right, it is a good thing to do for children. Because parents, usually they do what? They only speak sometimes when they criticize, when something missing. But they don't praise them when they do something good. And therefore the child always receiving criticism, but does not receive enough praise, which is the praise reinforce good values. But praise without correcting the child also is not good. You don't go to the extreme in anything. Therefore, the human nature want to hear something positive. And there's something big now in psychology called positive thinking. You heard of that? Positive thinking. You have to acknowledge the things that people have done for us. That called, this is number 2 by the way, called gratitude. Acknowledging what have done for us, people have done for us, is a form of praise. Recognizing the quality of somebody. Say, thank you, you're so generous. Thank you, you're so kind. That is okay. You are not helping them or pushing them to be arrogant. You are showing gratitude. We are showing gratitude by acknowledging a service or a good being done to us. That's the second thing. The third thing is about praise is do not praise people to the extent that, as the Rasul said, like breaking their back, okay, and their face. Because that praising a person to exaggeration in praising, it is where you break somebody's neck, figuratively, or their back. For you have to have moderation in praising. Moderation in praising. Number 4, you use praise to push jealousy and envy. What do I mean by that? Shaitan comes to you, so like, just say, criticize this person, because you're jealous of them. And then you say to them, no, I'm going to praise them actually. I'm going to say good things about them. That pushes it. It's very difficult to do that. Especially, say, now, in called sportship. You're watching the World Cup, you can recognize something good in somebody playing against you, or even have won the game. In general, this jealousy happen in peers, when people, even scholars or people at work or their peers, they start having this jealousy, and therefore Shaitan comes to try to have you to put the other person down. You have to show the Shaitan, push away the Shaitan by acknowledging the good things and the quality of the other person. Now, the other aspect of praise, that if you realize that always what we recognize or praise is material praise, there's something wrong with us of how we see people. You just get excited like, oh my God, very wealthy, very this, all about money. That shows a problem that we have within ourselves, that what you recognize of people is only the surface. You don't also look to other quality on people. And that, by the way, that's what led to this whole thing in social media and celebrities and so forth. Also about, the look, about the money, about prestige, about, fashion, about those kind of things. The other aspect of this is that what we call it today, the behavior of claiming perfections, even false perfections. A person, يحبون يمدحوا بما لم يفعلوا, Quran says. They want to be praised for something they have not done, taking a credit for something that's not yours. Because a love of praise make you also does not recognize the contribution of others. You claim something that is not yours. And that happens a lot today, that people, we believe in this in individualism, praising of individuals, so much that in expense of every person have helped them to become who they are. For a person have to acknowledge the contribution of others and not allow this idea of just one individual, kind of mentality of accomplishment. No human being have accomplished anything without help of others. And the last things I want to say about this, in the issue of addressing the disease of the heart, you have to be always conscious of the what you call it in Arabic, muhasaba, that self-accountability is not self-beating. Jald al-nafs. It's not self-beating. Self-accountability, not self-beating. What do you mean by that? If you come to a masjid and somebody praise you for something and it got to your head, shaitan comes to you and says, you know, since it got to your head, you should not come to the masjid for 1 week. That's shaitan. You say to shaitan, I'm going to attribute everything back to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. I'm not going to beat myself on this issue. I made a mistake on it. Maybe it went to my head. I pushed it back, but I'm not going to change behavior, not come to the masjid. Well, those are the things that I want you, as thinking about this issue of praise, to be aware of as we deal with this issue that Imam al-Ghazali is talking about. السبب الثاني, he said, the second, he gave an example. He says, فإذا ذكره غيره أورث ذلك طمأنينة وثقة باستشعار ذلك الكمال فتعظم لذاته وإنما تعظم اللذة بهذه العلة مهما صدر الثناء من بصير بهذه الصفات خبير بها لا يجازف في القول إلا عن تحقيق وذلك كفرح التلميذ بثناء أستاذه عليه بالكياسة والذكاء. He said that, for example, a teacher might praise one of his students, say, you're smart, you got it, and so forth. وغزارة الفضل فإنه في غاية اللذة. He said, naturally, a student, you know, you have a child who learning with you, and the child memorized Quran faster than the others, and he said, MashaAllah, this is good. That encouragement is good, by the way. Encouragement, as I said earlier. You know, Imam al-Ghazali, Imam Malik rahimahullah, he became Imam Malik because of the teachers he had. And you know how he became Imam? He was 7 years old, was Quran, and he wanted to become a singer. And his mother said to you, I think you're better to become a scholar. She dressed him like a scholar, showed him the reflection in the mirror, said, look, you look like a scholar. And become a scholar. But she sent him to Rabi'at al-Ra'i. She said, go and learn from his manners before you learn from his book. Because they used to have education, used to be a combination of two things, text and manners and behavior. Therefore, but what really made him become the scholar of hadith is that he wanted to become a student of a man by name Ibn Shihab al-Zuhri. Ibn Shihab al-Zuhri. Ibn Shihab is one of the greatest scholars of hadith, memorized hadith, like that's why his silsila, like a gold silsila, Ibn Shihab al-Zuhri. Ibn Shihab, rahimahullah, was in scholar in Medina. He has a halaqah, he has a class. And Imam Malik, he wanted to prove himself to be the close student of Ibn Shihab. And he said, what's the best time to show that I can do it? He said, maybe day of Eid. That's the day yakhlu fi Ibn Shihab, a day that there's no one around him, the day of Eid, he taken a day off. But he went, stood at his door, and he asked his servant, said, who at the door? He said, this guy with red hair. American, he said, red hair. He said, bring him in. She thought he worked for him. He said, Mawlak. She thought he's one of his servants, because always following him. He said, let him come in. He came in. Imam Malik, Imam Shihab al-Zuhri, rahimahullah, told Imam Malik, rahimahullah, هل صليت معنا العيد? Did you pray Eid with us? He said, yes, I prayed Eid with you. He said, هل أكلت شيئا? Did you eat something? Do you need some food? He said, no, I don't want food. So what do you want? Just say salam? He said, no, I want to learn hadith from you. Day of Eid. Hadith, okay. Ibn Shihab said, do you have anything to write with? He said, yeah. I brought up my stuff with me. He said, okay. He narrated to him 40 hadith, 40. 40 hadith. When you say 40 hadith, that means with chain of transmission. An fulan, an fulan, an fulan, an fulan. So and so have said so. Like all the narration. And he said to him, when you memorize this, come back to me. He sent him off with 40 hadith. Like he told me, you're going to take 6 months or something. Imam Malik said, I memorized it already. He said, what do you mean memorize it? He said, but just reading it for me once, write it down, I memorized the 40 hadith. The Shab said, give me your notes. Give the notes. He said, read them from your head, memory. He read the 40 hadith from memory, no single mistake. Then Ibn Shihab praised him. That's my point, the punchline. He said, قم يا بني فإنك وعاء من أوعية العلم. He said, my son, stand up. You are a container of knowledge. Everything goes in, it stays in. Next time, come to me. He thanked him, he praised him for this. Then one time in his class, still Shihab gave this 40 hadith also in class. For Imam Malik one day said to him, you know, I got all of them, 39, but one hadith, I'm not sure. He said, how comes you don't know the 40? Now with expectation, high expectation. قال سبحان الله ذهب حفظ الناس. The ability of people to memorize is gone. والله ما استودعت قلبي شيئا قط فنسيته. He said, by Allah, I never have memorized anything and I forgot it. Meaning that he praised him as a student. Now he wants him to stay where he was. He don't want him to fall behind. But it's okay to praise people, and that encourage Imam Malik to do more and to memorize more and to dedicate himself for the class. And there's so many examples, by the way, where the scholars have praised the student. Like Abu Hanifa, rahimahullah. Who's the teacher of Imam Abu Hanifa? Abu Hanifa, Imam Abu Hanifa, rahimahullah. Who was his teacher? Ya Hanafi. Ahnaf. Huh? Hamad. Hamad. And his name, his son Hamad, after his teacher. That son Hamad, rahimahullah, is the son that Imam Malik, when he used to come to visit Medina, Imam Malik would say to people, give him a special place to sit next to me. Then he would ask him, what your father have said about this issue, what your father have said about this issue. He has showed a lot of love and respect for Hamad. For Hamad, rahimahullah, Imam Hamad was a teacher of Imam Abu Hanifa, rahimahullah. And one day, there's somebody died, and he went to give condolences to one of his relatives. And they used to travel long journey, you know, either on the foot or in a horse or a donkey. He said to Abu Hanifa, rahimahullah, sit in my chair, now teach. For he taught, when he come back, he asked him, what you have done? He said, people would ask me those questions, I answered this and answered that. He agreed with some of the answers, he disagreed with them, but he said, you have a new way of thinking. That's how Imam Abu Hanifa, rahimahullah, become a scholar, you know. And by the way, Ibn Shihab al-Zuhri, he became a student of Imam Malik. He used to sit in his class. The teacher sat in the class of the student. وإن صدر ممن يجازف في الكلام أو لا يكون بصيرا بذلك الوصف ضعفت اللذة، وبهذه العلة يبغض الذم ويكرهه لأنه يشعره بنقصان نفسه، والنقصان ضد الكمال المحبوب وهو مقود والشعور به مؤلم. He said also, because of that, he said, but if the praise comes from someone is not of the caliber of the teacher, then it's not that the pleasure of it, the excitement of it, become less. السبب الثاني أن المدح يدل على أن قلب المادح مملوك للممدوح وأنه مريد له ومعتقد فيه ومسخر تحت مشيئته وملك القلوب محبوب والشعور بحصوله اللذيذ. بهذه العلة تعظم اللذة مهما صدر الثناء ما اتسع قدرته وينتفع بانتقاص قلبه كالملوك والأكابر. He said one of the reason is that people who praise others, sometimes, they want it to manipulate them too. Get my point? Happened in American politics, without mentioning anyone. If a person, then horrible job, people said you are the best. You are this, you are that, you are that. And then the person starts selecting people to be close to them based on how much praise they get. And that, by the way, is a sickness. That's a sickness. Narcissistic behavior. That the more praise you get, the more that you make a decision based on the praise. Therefore, he says that happened to king and people in power. Therefore, those people who praise them, they control them. The third, إن ثناء المثني ومدح المادح سبب لاصطياد قلب كل من يسمعه لا سيما كان ذلك ملتفت إلى قوله اعتد بثنائه. That's what we just said. Explanation more that a person who been praised, their heart become connected to the person praised them. السبب الرابع أن المدح يدل على حشمة الممدوح واضطرار المادح لإطلاق اللسان بالثناء على الممدوح عن مطوع أو قهر. He says the fourth reason that some people are not accessible unless you praise them, unless you say something positive and something like that, then you don't have access to them. You have to do that to get to them. Of course, here talking about power structure. Power structure. Say you have a manager in your company, he will not have he will never give you an ear unless you praise them a lot. You don't criticize them. Then you say this person becoming inner circle. Get my point? That itself is a problem, because the criterion of whom you trust is how much a person will praise you. My father used to say, a person does not tell you to speak the truth to you is a person you don't trust. He give you criticism, but without putting you down. There's a criticism. There's some people who criticize someone or try to correct them or give them feedback, but it's demonizing. The language they use, the attitude they use, and so forth, very demonizing. As I told you that before, one of the Khalifa, he said, can I have somebody to soften my heart? I want somebody to tell me something, and not somebody to praise me, to give me the truth, to give me something to remind me of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. For they said, okay, we have a Bedouin here who always, shouting. We take him to the Khalifa. He went to the Khalifa. He said to him, you're the worst of this and nothing. You're going to go to hellfire. Just loaded on him. So the Khalifa said to him, you could have spoken to me, said the same thing, but in softer language. قال يا هذا إن الله سبحانه وتعالى, he said Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, أرسل من هو خير منك, he sent the one who is better than you, إلى من هو أشر مني, somebody worse than me. فقال فقولا له قولا لينا لعله يذكر ويخشى. He sent Musa alayhi salam and Harun to Pharaoh, who is both of them better than you, to the man who was worse than me. And yet he said to them, he spoke to him softly. But why are you talking to me like that? Yeah, you can give it a nasiha, but the harshness. The same thing, by the way, in parenting. You should not use a language that break self-esteem of a child. Ever. Don't know that, ever. Do not, none of us should do that. You know, because in correcting particular behavior, you're creating a resentment in a child's mind and heart. For that is very important, you know. فهذه الأسباب الأربعة قد تجمع في مدح مادح واحد ويعظم بها الالتزام. He said those 4 reasons, maybe all of them happen in one person. Some of it, one reason could be, enough for how people become excited about being praised. Now, Imam al-Ghazali considered that حب الجاه حب المحمدة وخوف المذمة, that always want to be praised, always, you don't want to be criticized at all, is one of the sickness of the heart. واحد من أمراض القلوب. And now he talked بيان علاج حب الجاه. How do we address, what the remedy of loving, of prestige and acknowledgement and recognitions. علم أن من غلب على قلبه حب الجاه صار مقصور الهم على مراعاة الخلق مشغوفا بالتودد إليهم والمراءة لأجلهم. He said, you must know, whoever his heart become occupied of loving of tension, loving of power, loving of prestige, his or her worries in this life become how to appease people, how to get closer to them, and how to show off with them, and how to appease them. ولا يزال في أقواله وأفعاله ملتفتا إلى ما يعظم منزلته عندهم وذلك بذر النفاق وأصل الفساد. He said that therefore a person continue want the acknowledgement and the praise of people, then that lead to the seed of hypocrisy and corruption. ويجر ذلك لا محالة للتساهل في العبادات والمراءة بها والاقتحام المحظورات للتوصل بها انتقاص القلوب. This is something very important for especially young professionals. Listen to what he says here. He said because some people want to acknowledgement, wanted to compete for high places and power and maybe in prestige in this world, they're starting compromising on the principle. Might start taking, of course, social drinking, or being in places that compromise their iman. Because people say to you, like, I can't climb this ladder unless I do this kind of things. Because most of the deal be made in happy hour. You heard of that? If I'm out of that social circle, I'm not going to be able to do networking. If you go to the bar, and people drinking alcohol, and they say, I'm not drinking. And then the person gets desensitized by shaitan. Or a person, somebody asks him about something haram, say, what do you think about it? And the person doesn't want to hurt that person's feeling. He doesn't want to be bad in their book. What do they say? You know, it's not my type. If it's your type, it's good for you. Really? And they say that to a Muslim. You know, some people say that to a Muslim, a fellow Muslim. Not even a person not Muslim. You know, if it was you, I don't like it, but, I'm not going to judge you. If you like it, it's fine. Really? You tell somebody committing haram major sins is fine? When that come from? You have to tell them, like, I don't think this is a good thing to do, and I don't do it because I believe it's haram. I don't do it because I don't feel like Allah be pleased with me. Sometimes the fear of being looked as people who have passed judgment. You have to differentiate between passing judgment and speaking the truth. You know what the difference between the two? Passing judgment and speaking the truth. When I said that this person is going to go to hellfire, that's judgment. You cannot do that. Only Allah does that. Allah makes the decision. Allah will not forgive this person. It's not your business. You cannot be don't put yourself in the place of Allah. But if somebody said to you, is alcohol halal or haram? I drink. What do you think? I don't judge people. I'm not going to say anything about it. Really? Somebody asks you, what do you say? Huh? You say, huh? Alcohol is somebody asking me, I drink. Is alcohol haram, Imam Majid? What should I tell them? You're a good brother. I think you was okay because you do other things. Continue to drink alcohol. You don't say that. But you say, a person, if something is haram, a person can make some effort to get from the haram. You help a person. You don't put people down to say, what kind of Muslim are you? You're going to go to hellfire. No. You acknowledge something wrong, but there's a way that to help people to get them out of what they are. You extend your hand to them. You meet them where they are, extend your hand, take them out. But if somebody who drinks alcohol come to pray in the masjid, you know that you have seen them drinking. You say, Subhanallah, you come to the masjid and you drink? Don't ever say that to anyone. Don't ever say that. Because if you say that, you're telling them, cancel the prayer as well. That shaitan work 100%. Not a good thing to do. You encourage people to do what's good. You don't demonize them for doing something good because they have done something wrong before. Any questions? Yeah. Yes. You have to know where the person comes from. You have to know there's some people, you don't know the psychological, mental health state. Therefore, the advice being given to the person who don't know who they are could be sometimes very damaging. Don't jump to conclusion. Get to know people before you give them any fatwas. Other questions? Sisters?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
I have a question. You talked earlier about complimenting your children, but at the same time correcting them.
Yeah.
How do you find that right balance where you don't want them to get away with too much, you want to correct them to obviously be better, but at the same time you're always finding yourself always correcting, right? So how do you find that balance?
Yeah, the parents, they have to differentiate between spoiling a child, everything goes, I'm not going to hurt their feeling, or putting them down all the time. I think the balance is that you give acknowledgement and compliment when they do good, and you correct them when they do wrong. That's the balance. And but unfortunately, sometimes people, their parenting style is to watch for what is wrong, because they want to correct, always in this alertness, like what has gone wrong, what is going wrong, what is about that. And this is like a policing parenting. policing parenting, giving tickets, to children. But they have to know that there's something positive, like if somebody of them, how to done something good, even cleaning the room. That has to be acknowledged. Not only when the room is messy. You see what I'm saying? Any other question? Time for Adhan. طيب سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك لا إله إلا أنت أستغفرك وأتوب إليك اللهم اهدنا فيمن هديت وعافنا فيمن عافيت تولنا فيمن توليت اكفنا شر ما قضيت إنك تقضي بالحق ولا يقضى عليك اللهم اجعل جمعنا هذا جمعا مرحوما تفرقنا من بعده تفرقا معصوما ولا تجعل فينا ولا منا ولا بيننا شقيا ولا محروما وصلى اللهم على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم تسليما كثيرا آمين.
Thank you. الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن محمد